Welcome to this video. I just want to talk about yoga is not really yoga until you really understand this. So yoga is not really yoga till you really understand this. So what is this? What is this? So in a lot of practices of yoga, and if it works for you, that's brilliant. If it doesn't, then keep looking. But in a lot of practices of yoga, it's turned into a stretching exercise, which is all cool. It's good. I'm not saying don't stretch your body, because I think you should always stretch your body. The benefits of stretching your body for longevity and all these other things is amazing. But yoga, there's an eightfold path to yoga. And if you don't understand that eightfold path, you're not really doing yoga properly. Yoga means union. And what's that union mean? What is the union? The union is actually self-realization. It's actually your union with the true you and your physical you. So it's really deep. It's very deep practice. And the yogic path, the eightfold yogic path, is the final one would be samadhi, which would be you getting to such a point where you're in your mind, your physical body almost dissolves, and you're just in a state of consciousness, a state of just being with your consciousness. That's the end purpose of yoga, being a yogi, yogic path. That's what it means. And there's all these other different elements to it. So it really is taking into consideration everything that you do to practice yoga. Is fascinating. And you've got many, many different forms, as I say, the 8 forms, and then you have all these people who crop up every now and again in the history of yoga who come and give it a different slant, which is why you've got all these different forms of yoga. So the tantric yoga really was to ignite the kundalini energy in your spine. We call it just life force energies coming up from your lower chakras, the Shakti energy. That's what they call it in the Vedas, the rising Shakti energy, the life force energy in the body, to meet the falling male energy, the Shiva energy, Shakti and Shiva meeting in the heart, in the middle. That's what this is all about. And they call it tantric. Tantric also is about the senses. It's about you really feeling your senses, becoming highly sensitive to everything, which is this energy that you need to be connecting with. That's the union of your body connecting with this energy, which is your soul. But you have your physical, like to break it down into 3 bodies: your physical, your energetic, and your spiritual body. So the yoga is the union of that. That's what it is. That's your path. It's not just a stretching exercise. So there's many different forms of yoga. And that's what I love about the Ki Gong practice that I teach. It's really a yoga, form of yoga. Even though you're doing different things, still doing the tapping. You look at some of these different yogic practices, especially in India. Some of them are just sitting there tapping, ooh, making the noises. Ooh, that's a yoga practice. And we do that a lot with the Ki Gong. Some of it is just sitting there meditating. That's another form of yogic path. Another yoga, just sitting there focusing on your breathing. Another one is mantras, doing mantras. So yoga is an enormous umbrella. And again, we've very, very much simplified it in the West. So to get that, then you realize when you're doing your yoga, to actually go into the Vedic scripts and start to see the deepness of it, the richness of it. And the Bhagavad Gita is a brilliant start. That was written 5,000 years ago. 5,000 years ago. And they talk about you being a drop in the ocean, and you're connected to that whole ocean because it's all interconnected and intertwined together. So that's what we mean by we are all as one. So you're just a different experience, a different consciousness inside of that oneness. So you're just having a different experience of that. And they say that in the Bhagavad Gita 5,000 years ago. So this was written by our ancestors. And now we're coming to that same realization with quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and the new way science is looking at our world. That's yoga, the union. Is just being proved now. They did it with the meridians. They did, I think it was nuclear isotopes through the meridians, and they could draw the meridians on the body by that highlighting where the meridians are, and it would it was almost exactly the same as how they drawn them in Southeast Asia. Incredible stuff. And now the chakras are starting to realize that these are nerve centers, and there's a natural heat coming from these nerve centers. Your lower danjon should be warm. Upper danjon should be cool, because your brain works best when it's cool. Your brain stem should be cool. So any yoga practice or Ki Gong practice you should do, if you work the energy properly, water up, fire down, the back of the head should be cool. Back of the neck, cool. That is you getting really deep into your yoga practice, your yogic practice, or your Ki Gong practice. To me, it doesn't matter what you call it. Doesn't matter what you call it. There's no point being precious about, I do this kind of thing and this is it. It's actually open to everything. And it's been broken down into 8 parts, because the Vedas are an enormous body of work about human beings and how we should be living on this planet. And it was a little bit heavy down, male sort of orientated Indian teachings with the guru, that's it. And then you have the pupils or the students. Then it went over to the Southeast, which turned into Ki Gong and Tai Chi. It was more the mentor, teaching you how to be at one with yourself without it being a heavy push down male energy, more female energy. Now we've got both, which is good. We're coming to balance now in the Western world, which is why many people are rejecting the crazy matrix world that we're living in and starting to accept actually there's a lot more depth to our reality. It's a lot richer, a lot more interesting than we actually realize. If you look at the material world, there's nothing else to go. There's nowhere to go with that. Space. This is why they're talking about going to space and inhabiting other planets. When we actually live on a beautiful planet, we could be living as nature, because we are nature. We have the same cycles. And with the yoga practice that you're doing, if it's working for you, you realize you're part of that cycle. You're part of that natural swirl, which is that's why the logo in the Bright Beings Academy is a swirl. It's that unfolding of this Fibonacci sequence of you growing into your self-realization. That's what you want. And that's what you want from your yoga practice or Ki Gong practice. If you want deeper help with self-realization, I do the dream method. You can see it, the little sign there. You can click the link around this video or below, and you can go through to a webinar, 20 minutes of webinar, and it will tell you exactly what the dream method will do for you. If that resonates with you, you can book a call with me. We can talk, see whether it's going to work for you, because it's not going to work for everybody, but see if it's going to work for you. And we'll make a group, a joint decision to see if it's going to work for you. If it does, then we can go further. If it's not, then no hard feelings. That's all fine. Because I realize how sensitive this whole journey is for everybody. So I do get that. Anyway, whatever you choose, I wish you well. And until the next video, be well, keep shining.